Satnam. Hi Astro friends and family. My name is Karine. I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher and also astrologer, and I work on Lada's channel. And today we are going to talk about career and money for 12 signs in 2023. And remember, this is a general reading, so everyone has a different chart. So if you want a specific one for yourself, you can check the link below and you can find the information how to book reading with me. So before we start, just a quick introduction how I read the chart and also how you can use this reading. So I use tropical zodiac and the whole sign house system, and I apply Vedic astrology techniques in all my readings. So please don't use any unequal house system for this reading. Traditionally, people use sidereal zodiac and in Vedic astrology. But Ernst Wilhelm, the teacher that I learned from, if you're interested in astrology, you must have heard of this person. And he stopped using sidereal zodiac for Vedic astrology. I think it's in 2005, because he tests tropical and sidereal for all the Vedic techniques. And tropical trumps every time. So that's why he stopped using sidereal for Vedic astrology, I think at least 10 years ago. So this is where and how I learned from him, and this is also how I'm going to do my readings. And usually I use planetary dristis, like each planet, they have a specific eyesight, and when they shoot the eyesight to different places, that also sends the influence to the houses. But because the topic today is about career and money, so I will only mention the aspect, the dristi that is related to this topic. So not every aspect will be mentioned. So Jupiter will be in Aries from 21st of December and will stay in this sign until 16th of May in 2023. So that means right now, Jupiter is very soon to entering into Aries and will stay there for at least 5 months. And then Jupiter will enter Taurus from 17th of May, and then we will stay there for a year. So until 25th of May 2024. And Saturn will enter in Pisces on 7th of March and will stay there until 13th of February 2026. So almost 3 years time. But in between, Saturn will enter into Aries for a brief time and then will go back to Pisces. So approximately 3 years time. And so this reading is good if you look at from your rising sign as well as your moon sign. In Vedic astrology, apart from the birth chart, they also have this moon chart. So it means that we read everything from the moon's perspective, moon's placements. So your moon signs become your ascendant, your first house. And so you can look at the transits from the moon, and it's called Gochara in Vedic astrology. That's the specific term for that. And you can also, if you like, you can also turn your charts, like your birth chart, and read from your moon placements. Particularly if you're over 50 years old, it's good to look at from your moon chart, because all the planets will be mature during that time. For example, Rahu matures at the age of 42 and Ketu matures at the age of 48. So all the planets and the 2 points, they will be mature. And if you read from your moon, you will also feel more consciously and emotionally connected to the prediction, because moon rules our consciousness and emotions. And this reading, it's not so much about looking at from your sun sign, but if you like listen from your sun sign, you can do that as well. Now, there are several rising signs for next year. They are quite important. They are having a big year next year in 2023. So like Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Pisces, and Leo. They all have planets go through their first house, particularly Aries and Taurus. These two signs, they have planets go through their 12th house as well as their first house. So they're having the beginning and also the ending happening at the same time. So this is like big year. Why first house is very important is because when planets transit in the first house, it's the most important transit in life. The first house rules you, your path in life, your identity, who you are. The planets that are transiting through the first house are going to have a profound impact on your growth. And the planets that move through the first house is going to make you who you are, make you become who you're meant to be, and also lay out the path for you. And because the ascendant is always about learning to becoming the best version of you along the path. So when planets move through the first house, each planet will do what it needs to do to help you to become better in your life. For example, different planets, they have different mission. Particularly when planets move through your first house and go retrograde, becomes extremely important. That's why Jupiter and Saturn, when they transit your first house, is always important, because these two planets, they always they go retrograde when they transit in one sign. Venus, Mercury, and Mars, they are fast-moving planets, but when they transit your first house and go retrograde, they become extremely important. Okay, so now Virgo rising or Virgo moon. Saturn will transit through your 7th house and Jupiter will move through your 8th house from December to mid-May next year, 2023. And then Jupiter will move into your 9th house from mid-May 2023 and will stay there for 1 year until 2024. So Saturn transit in the 7th house brings delays, extra work, resistance, but it also brings structure, order, disciplines, and the maturity in the 7th house topics. So for example, like justice, law cases, courthouse, fairness, contracts, negotiation, deal making, alliance forming, partnerships, and any one-on-one relationship or any one-on-one communication. And when Saturn transit in the 7th house, it requires stricter commitments and repetitive and extra efforts to uphold the partnerships and also promises, agreements, contracts, and everything that's represented by 7th house. And 7th house is Venus's house. And in Vedic astrology, Venus and Saturn, they are good friends. So when Saturn transit in the house of friends, even though 7th house matters, the things that I mentioned just now will be tested, restricted, and also you can experience some delays. But the final results for Saturn transits in the 7th house for almost 3 years' time will manifest in an elegant, streamlined, mature, and realistic fashion. So no need to worry. So Virgo may feel restrained in all kinds of negotiation situations and collaborations, especially if your job requires to form alliances, making connections, deal making, or bargaining, or if your job needs to involve other people to complete. Like you can't do this by yourself. You always need to have another party, another person to involve to complete your job. You'll feel it the most in the beginning of the transits. And Saturn transit in the 7th house can also test your patience. There might be some prolonged negotiation process in order to come to the common ground or achieve a final agreement. So pay attention to contracts, because 7th house rules contracts. So even though the contract deal looks okay in the beginning, there might be like new regulatory requirements or unexpected situations that will postpone the conclusion of the contracts or the conclusion of the deal. And when Saturn transit in the 7th house, you can enter into a more long-term commitment relationship, whether it's business or romantic. And life circumstances will somehow force you to learn to take on more responsibilities in your partnership. And it could also be that the partnership becomes more demanding and requires you to put more efforts. But by the end of the transit, you will definitely grow in the partnership. Like you have a deeper understanding and learn what a partnership is like, and learn to be more responsible, organized, and learn to handle partnership or business, because 7th house rules trading fairly and properly. And during this transit, you could also partner up with someone who is more experienced in your life, maybe someone who is more experienced in your area of expertise, or someone older, or someone who is a higher social status. So for example, when I had Saturn transits in the 7th house, I also had Jupiter transit in the 7th house at the same time. So I have both planets transit in my 7th house. This is when I started working with Lada. She's a very important and also high profile astrologer on the internet. And she's not older, by the way. I think we are the same age, but definitely she's more experienced. She's more like a high profile, high status. Now, Jupiter will move through your 8th house from now, like December, 21st of December until mid-May next year. So 5 months time. Eighth house rules other people's money, other people's resources, your spouse's money, business partner's money, joint resources with your spouse, or mutual assets with your spouse or your business partner. It could also rule the money that you get from the service that you provide. So if you work in a commission base, then that's eighth house thing. So money-wise, when Jupiter moves through eighth house, it can increase your spouse's money. It brings luck to your spouse's money situation or your business partner situation. And if you have a mutual investments or mutual assets, that could also somehow benefit you because the part of the gold increases and that can somehow benefit you. Or if you have a business partner, they can contribute more to the mutual finances. And during the transit, you can also expect some financial returns from other people or other people's money. For example, someone owes you money and they pay you back, or tax return, or insurance claim, because tax and insurance, they both belong to other people's money. And if you want to apply for a loan or financial support from the government, so this is a good time. And you can also expect financial support from other people. For example, your partner or your spouse financially supports you during the transit, or someone provides you their resources for you to utilize. Not necessarily money, but maybe their like platform, client base, clientele, products, or skills. And basically during this transit, you can rely on help from other people materially, financially, and emotionally, because the eighth house is also to do with the emotional strength. And one thing I like to point out is that the amount of money and the amount of support from other people is determined by the dignity of your natal Jupiter. So if your Jupiter is debilitated, you're not going to get a lot of help. You can still feel lucky, but it's not going to be like everyone can get big money or a big support or inherit a mansion during this transit. For example, my natal Jupiter is not particularly good. So when Jupiter transits my eighth house, what happened to me was my partner took care of my stomach and provides a roof over my head because I was struggling financially. And emotionally, he was kind of supportive because he wasn't nagging so much about I need to get a normal job. He thinks like yoga teaching, healing work, or astrology are not practical to support myself, at least for now. So that's what happened to me. And another thing you need to pay attention to is that eighth house rules unexpected changes and emergency situations. So what I noticed is that when Jupiter transits the eighth house, because Jupiter gives many in the house that it's in. So watch out for some emergency situations during this transit. Not saying you're going to be in danger or accidents, but there might be some unexpected situations that quickly grab your attention and you have to deal with. Then Jupiter will move through your ninth house from mid-May 2023 and will stay there for a year. Ninth house rules the higher mind, wisdom, outlook on life, and Jupiter will expand your vision and you will become more positive and optimistic. You'll be able to see life through a higher perspective, and you will become more inspired and optimistic about your future. So this is a good time to plan your future. Ninth house in Vedic astrology is actually the most fortunate house, lots of blessings. So when Jupiter transits in the ninth house, even though you have some difficult transits at the same time, you will still be able to remain positive and trust in life. So during this transit, you might be inspired to learn some higher wisdom. You might take your interest into a higher level, because ninth house is about higher education, higher learning, deepening your knowledge. So you might take one of your hobbies, maybe you just do it for fun, and then you will take it into a higher level. Maybe you want to get a degree or get a diploma for that. And Jupiter transit in the ninth house, you will become more open to different cultures, philosophy, ideology, beliefs, religion, and spirituality as well. And more opportunities for teaching, sharing your knowledge, even though if you're not a teacher, but there will be opportunities for you to, like, people may come to you and ask your advice or ask you to share your knowledge. And if you're working in the professional field that's related to teaching, knowledge, writing or publication, academia, or if your work is in a university setting, perhaps you're not a professor, perhaps you're not a teacher, but you work sort of like working in a university setting. Or if you work in an advisory position, Jupiter transit in the ninth house will make you busier with your work. It brings more responsibilities in those professional fields. And the transit is also very supportive for humanistic work or any work that's on international or global level, and also good for foreign travels, tourism. So if you want to travel during this time, this is very supportive. And this is also great for doing business with foreigners or in a foreign land, anything to do with foreign countries, like import, export. You can also provide your service to foreign cultures, and then the people live actually in the same country, but it's just different community. Okay, so that was a brief review about your career and money in the upcoming year. I wish you a year of abundance, support, love, wisdom, and guidance. And if you need a personal reading, you can find the information in the link below. Thank you.